The Assassination of Charlie Kirk. A true crime story. It was supposed to be just another night on campus. The auditorium at Utah Valley University was packed, buzzing with restless energy, students crowding in, waiting for the man they had come to see. Charlie Kirk stepped onto the stage with his usual confidence, suit sharp, microphone in hand, his smile carrying the calm of someone used to both adoration and outrage. To his followers, he was a fighter, a voice of truth. To his critics, he was fire poured onto an already divided nation. But no one in that room imagined that within minutes the air would split with gunfire, and history would take a chilling turn. The first shot cracked like thunder. At first, some thought it was a sound glitch, maybe feedback from the mic. Then the second came, and the third. Screams erupted. Students dropped to the ground, chairs crashing, bodies surging toward the exits. On stage, Charlie Kirk staggered backward, his papers fluttering out of his hands before he fell, motionless, under the blinding stage lights. Chaos swallowed the room. Some cried, some froze, others pushed toward the doors, tripping and clawing in panic. Security lunged forward, wrestling the gunman to the ground, but it was too late. In those few seconds, the room had been transformed into something no one could ever forget, a theater of horror, where applause had turned into screams. Outside, sirens wailed, flashing red and blue against the night sky. The university was sealed off. Students huddled together on the lawns, whispering in shock, calling their families. Inside the hospital, doctors fought to bring Kirk back. They couldn't. At only 31 years old, one of America's most controversial voices was gone. Charlie Kirk had built an empire from scratch. Turning Point USA was more than just an organization, it was a movement. He filled auditoriums, dominated debates, and built powerful alliances, from college campuses all the way to the White House. He had critics, he had enemies, and he had endured endless threats. But he had always walked back on stage, until tonight. The man who pulled the trigger looked ordinary. Witnesses said he rose from the middle rows, his face blank, almost calm. The black handgun in his hand told a different story, a story he had written long before this night. Investigators would later reveal fragments of his online life, filled with rage, with extremism, with the kind of poisoned anger that festers in the dark corners of the internet. His motive still being unraveled, but what he left behind was clear. Devastation, questions, and fear. News spread before dawn. Phones buzzed across the country, feeds filled with disbelief. Charlie Kirk Assassinated trended within minutes. Supporters lit candles outside the hospital. Critics, even those who despised him, recoiled in shock. For some, it was proof that America's divisions had gone too far. For others, it was just another chapter in the nation's long, bloody history of political violence. The reactions came fast. Donald Trump called it terrorism. Kamala Harris called it cowardice. Commentators clashed on TV, each side pointing fingers, each side asking how something like this could happen in America again. The truth was harder, darker. It had already been happening. Words had been escalating to threats, threats to violence, and tonight, violence had crossed the line. For those who were in the auditorium, the memory will never fade. One student described the moment in whispers. "At first I laughed, I thought it was a prank. Then I saw the blood." Another said, "The silence after the shots was worse than the shots themselves. We were frozen, staring, like time had stopped." But time didn't stop. It marched on, carrying America into another storm, another moment where the past collided with the present. People remembered Dallas, 1963, Los Angeles, 1968, Memphis. The names of Kennedy and King hung heavy in the air, and now a new name added to the list, Charlie Kirk. This wasn't just a killing, it was a warning, a message written in gunfire that the country is still at war with itself. It was the sound of anger exploding, of division bleeding into violence. It was a mirror held up to a nation too broken to look away. In the end, the man who built his life on words was silenced by bullets. But the echoes of that night will carry for years. In every debate, every protest, every fearful glance at a public stage, America is left standing at a crossroads, forced to ask whether this was the moment that changes everything or just another step towards something worse. The crowd that came to hear him speak will remember more than his words. They will remember the crack of gunfire, the flash of lights, the final fall of a man who had become larger than life, and the haunting realization that in America no stage is safe and no voice, no matter how loud, is untouchable.